Hello, you fabulous thing. Thanks for joining me today in my kitchen. Well, I'm glad you did because I'm making something that I think you'll want to make, that's for sure. We're going into book 6 today, which is the big book with the 28-day masterclass. And this was a requested recipe. Several people asked for it. And I thought, why not? It's this one. It's the banana scones. Yes, scones. You have me at hello. This is such a fantastic recipe and it's super easy to make. And I think a lot of people get scared about scones. I'm going to show you how you can make them because everything is quick and easy and fast in this years of the Facebook show here. Now, let's look at the ingredients. Also, the oven is preheated to 220 degrees stand-for, so it's a hot oven. Want to cook them quick, all right, 220 degrees. I've got some Floralite margarine. I've got 2 tablespoons, which is 30 grams. I'm going to melt that in the microwave. I'm going to put it on 70% power or 7%, depending what yours does, so it doesn't splatter everywhere. And I'm going to do it for 20 seconds. There we go. Now we also need 2 egg whites. I've got 2 teaspoons of white sugar. Now we've got bananas. It says 2 to 3, but these are actually a little bit small. So I've got 4 here just in case. We also have 2 cups of self-raising flour, and I'm going to put a teaspoon of cinnamon because banana and cinnamon to me just sounds so delicious. I've also got a little bit of extra milk here, or some milk, we don't use milk in this recipe, to brush on the top. And it's interesting because this recipe actually doesn't have any wet ingredients apart from the bananas. So let's mash them up. I want a cup of banana and I want it to be ripe bananas. So this is good. You know, once it starts getting that little brown bit on it, I know then that it's going to be a good mashing one. That's a good way. It's a good mashing one. Now, I reckon that might be enough, but I might just put just a little bit more in because I just want to check. All right, I'm going to mash the banana. And truly, this is why you want them ripe, because if they're not, you won't be able to mash it very well, will you? Now, also, if you're a person, that has diabetes, you're better with not super ripe bananas. So just a little tip there, as long as you can mash it. But I find for general, the riper, like this is, the sweeter the banana is. So we want to give that a good mash. And I mean, I love scones, and I had never thought of doing a banana scone until I actually wrote this book, because I was thinking to myself, what's another scone that I could do? And I had never heard of a banana scone. And when I Googled it, there it was. People actually had invented or done the recipe before. All right, so let's get a spoon. I want a cup. So let's see how we go here. There we go. That's a cup. Look at that. Yes. In my soapy sink. That's pretty well all the prep I need to do for this. So let's get it started. Let me get the marge out. Here we go. And it's really one of those recipes that I find, as long as you've got some bananas, surprise visitors, for example, you can whip up a batch of these scones in no time at all. We're going to do 2 egg whites in the recipe. So I don't need the yolk. The egg white is what's the raising of the egg, so that helps. And this is something that in the olden days, if you look at the old scone recipes, and often some of the ones now, they don't include eggs. And I think that's where I've always put egg in my scones because it lightens them up. 2 teaspoons of sugar, and we're just going to beat that for a minute. So that's done, that's done. Margarine. And remember, 220 is the oven. I love scones so much, and I love different ones. like in my books, I've done other scone recipes. For example, in book 2, I've done pumpkin scones. I mean, you know, Flo has not the only one that's got a pumpkin scone recipe. And in book 3, I've done fruit scone scrolls and savoury scone scrolls. And I've got the idea from New Zealand there. We're just going to put the banana in here. I've also got in book 4 quite a few scones in that one. I've got a simple light scone. I've got a cheese and onion scone. And I've also got a orange and date scone. And there's variations to go with them. Like this one, for example, if you look at the recipe, you can add to it. So here you can see I'm just combining the banana with the egg white. I'm going to put the margarine in now. Fix that in. I mean, you could add, and it tells you in the recipe, you can add dates, chopped dates, craisins are really nice, or even sultanas. So you can add to that if you wish. We're going to put a teaspoon of cinnamon in. I'm going to put it in the flour. And we're going to sift that in. There we go. See, scones are easy. They're also cheap to make too because, you know, especially when you've got bananas going a bit rotten, hello, you can make banana scones, absolutely. Don't waste them. Here we go. Now, this recipe does not have any extra liquid. My other scones, you'll put in milk, skim milk. And I was talking to a lady the other day and she said to me, oh, I made the banana scones, and she said, but they were too wet. And I say it in here, let me read it to you, because it depends on how mushy your bananas are. So I've got here, note, depending on the ripeness of your banana, you may find the dough can be either a little too wet or too dry. If too wet, add a little more self-raising flour when placed on the flat surface before cutting and fold in the extra flour. I mean, you could just do it then in there. If the dough is too dry, then add a little skim milk until you get the right consistency. Just remember, the least amount of movement with the dough, the lighter your scone will be. And that's the truth, yeah. I'm going to spray my tray while I'm there. So this is where I'm going to get in and mush it together. A lot of times, you know, with scones, this is the only way to make them. You've got to get in and get dirty. But I'm not going to get all that under my nails. I'm going to use my gloves. And this is where you'll be able to really, like looking at that now, you'd think, oh, Annette, that's just too dry. It's not. It's not too dry. You get in. Because of the banana, it can be quite a soft mix. But that looks pretty good. Okay, let me get rid of my stuff in my soapy sink. What you do now is you need to get a 6 centimetre, like from there to there, 6 centimetre scone cutter. You could use, if you don't have a scone cutter, that's okay. Just use a glass and it'll work just as well. There we go. I'm going to put some flour on the top, and you know, you don't need to roll it out with a rolling pin, okay? Just pat it down. There we go. Now I want 12 scones. So what I do is I just sort of go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, just to make sure I've got and can get enough. So go right to the edge. Let's dip this in the flour. And we're just going to put them, the secret with scones is they have to be touching each other. I call it the kissing technique. So they're close enough that they can kiss. It will rise better that way. All right, so we've got 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. All right. I mean, at the end of the day, like sometimes you'll get a little bit more, sometimes you get a little bit less. It's a bit hard to judge, isn't it? But anyway, but home cooking is the best. And my theme this year is all about simple, quick and easy. And you can't tell me this isn't simple and easy. We want 1 and 1 more. Looks like I'm going to get the baker's dozen here, Bill. Actually, maybe. So what I do is I'll show you what I do when I've got this extra bit. I'll push it in so it gets the shape, turn it over and put it there. This is a tiny baby one. This will be just a little bonus. And as I say, it doesn't matter. I mean, if you've got a little bit extra, it's okay. Now what I'm going to do now is I'm going to brush the scones with a little bit of skim milk over the top. If you don't have a brush, just use your fingers like that. Okay? It's all about just making it as easy as possible. And remember, you can add those other additions, like the dates are really nice in it. All right, our scones are done. Let's put them in the oven now. Remember, it was 220 degrees. It says in the recipe 12 to 15 minutes. I'm going to do 12 and come back and check it, okay? Now let me just clean my mess down, because you know what I did before we even started? I actually made a batch because we've got some visitors coming, and I thought there's no way a dozen will be enough. There's a few people coming. So I thought I'll make a batch and we can have them show here on the show. So there. So I did get the 12 on that one. Typical, isn't it? You weren't watching when I did that. But what I love to do is bring them up and sort of break them up a bit and put them in. And look, you can see the bits of banana and smell the banana. I mean, if you don't like bananas, then you'll have to go into one of the other, like the pumpkin or the plain or the cheese and onion or the date and orange. But there's our scones. Oh my gosh, how amazing is this? They freeze really well. They're 1.5 grams of fat for a scone. I know, fabulous. Now, if you want to win this book, it's the big book. It's fantastic. All you have to do is like, share, and then in the comments, here we go, hashtag Symply Too Good. Number 2, hashtag SYM. I'm not SIM, Sim. It's Scottish. And you might be able to win a personally signed copy. I mean, who knew Whalers could be so deliciously healthy? And my visitors are going to be feasting this afternoon with a nice cup of tea and a scone. I mean, does it get any better? I don't think so. Now, next week's show, it's another requested one that's an old favourite, super easy, super fabulous, super quick. That's the theme for this year. I want simple but fabulous, and I'm making a recipe out of book 1, and it's the chicken pizziola. And I've got a fantastic announcement that I'll be making next week, so you need to be here to hear that firsthand. All right, so if you want any more recipes or tips, where do you go? simplytoogood.com.au. And thank you for sharing a little bit of your time on Thursday with me. Take care, and I'll see you next week. Big announcement. Bye.